The Pat Kenny Show
on Newstalk.
Losing your hair can be devastating, even more so if you're dealing with a medical condition or indeed an illness. For some people, either before or after therapy, opting for a hairpiece can make a huge difference to their self-confidence and indeed their self-esteem. Our intrepid reporter Andrea Gilligan went along to the hair club in Donnybrook in Dublin. She's with me now in studio. That is your own hair, I can confirm that. Yeah, I can confirm that. But let's talk about the hair club first of all. What is it?
Yeah, well, I suppose, Jonathan, for many people, it's the last thing you want to think about, because it probably comes after receiving bad news or even developing a medical condition. So the thought of having to go out and kind of look at these stockists of hair extensions or hair pieces or volumizers or anything like this, can add an awful lot of stress on people's lives at a time when they're perhaps trying to deal with really bad news, that they've developed a medical condition, or perhaps they've just been told that they've cancer. So it can be a very stressful time for people, and I suppose it's the idea of having to digest the fact that you're maybe going to have to wear a hair extension or a hair piece. How does it work? How does it fit? Will it look normal? Will people notice? All of these different kind of considerations. I'd
imagine most people as well know what a bad wig looks like.
Well, when people think of wigs, you kind of think of something that maybe you see in a costume shop, but that's not the case in terms of what's out there at the moment. There's people wear hair pieces, hair volumizers, extensions every day of the week, and you actually wouldn't know any difference. So I went to the hair club in Donnybrook in Dublin just basically to find out what the whole thing's about.
Logan, and we are at the hair club in Donnybrook in Dublin. We have been open here since 2011. Initially, we're from the Hairspray group, which opened in 2006. And over the years, when we had Hairspray, a lot of customers were coming in that may not have wanted the glamour aspect of hair. They were looking for, they had different needs. They might have had thinning hair, trichotillomania, which is a disorder pulling hair out, or just been hit with a little bit of bad news that they have cancer and that they will be losing their hair temporarily, and they need a wig. A lot of the time they would come in and they'd say, have you got somewhere a little bit more private? So I decided initially, about 4 or 5 years ago, I said, I think we need our own dedicated place that's comfortable, a little bit off the beaten track, because there's still a stigma about, for some people, walking in to a place that has maybe wigs or hair pieces in the window. And some clients mind and some clients don't. The advances with synthetic wigs and human hair wigs in the last 5 years is really phenomenal, because synthetic hair now is made of literally true to life fibre, which looks and feels like your own hair. It won't you can't do as much with it as human hair, but it's nearly quarter the price. When a client generally is wearing a wig, if it's a quality wig and it suits her complexion, you just generally will not tell that someone is wearing a wig.
What's it like on the emotional front in terms of when you're dealing with people? Is it predominantly women you deal with here?
It is. Well, when we were open in Bagot Street in 2004, we actually dealt more with men than women. When we moved from there, we moved into retail and hairspray. A lot of men guys moved on because they didn't want to come into a female shop, really. With some customers, if they've just been diagnosed, they will be very proactive, and they will say, and they might have the most beautiful hair, and they just say, I want to shave it now. I'm going under my treatment, and my treatment starts next week, and I don't want to wake up and see my hair shedding. That would be my worst nightmare. So I want you to shave my head. And it is a difficult experience, but what they'll look for is a wig that will be as close to their own hair.
There's Warren Logan now. He's with the wig club.
Yeah, the hair club in Donnybrook. Yeah, exactly.
And for most people, a wig isn't a choice. You'll see people, Hollywood stars, will maybe all of a sudden have different hair to everybody else. But it's a very difficult decision, I'd imagine, for people to acknowledge that for whatever reasons, for medical reasons or for some reason that's out of their control, that they need to do something like this.
Yeah, well, I think for a lot of people, and that's what I found, Jonathan, from talking to people, who are maybe going to the hair club, or even just themselves that perhaps need to go, anywhere to try and get a hair piece or a hair extension. It's nearly an admission or a sort of an acceptance that something has changed or something has gone wrong or they've received bad news, and it's nearly like, aside from having gone to the doctor or the consultant and heard whatever the news is, now they have to actually deal with, here's the reality of how it's going to affect me on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, you're right, it can be extremely difficult for people, but I suppose it's how they embrace it and the kind of options that are out there that makes it maybe a little bit easier for them. So I met one woman in the hair club just to find out why she was there.
Well, I was diagnosed with cancer 7 years ago, and I lost all my hair
wore a full wig, my hair grew back, and then after a while it started falling out again. A friend of mine brought me here. She fitted me with a volumizer. That's 4 years ago, and I've been wearing it ever since because my hair hasn't grown back and it's still falling out on the top of my head. I've went to the doctor, and apart from getting a transplant, I think that's the only way I could. But this volumizer, as it's called, you wouldn't know the difference. None of my newer friends don't know. No. I joined a bridge class, and often they say to me, "Your hair is lovely," and I say, "Thank you very much."
You just have a kind of a giggle to yourself.
Yeah. I got fitted for a wig a couple of months before the hair completely fell out. My father died, and I had to get my wig on the day for his funeral because my hair was falling out onto my shoulders. I was afraid people would putting their arms around me would fall off, but it didn't. It didn't fall off. It's not a heavy wig at all. I don't call it a wig. I just call it a volumizer because it just makes my own hair thicker looking, and that's all I needed it for.
Mm-hmm. And to sit across from you today and just to look at you, it just looks completely like your own hair. Like it's totally it's styled. No? It's very handy. Because all I have to do is jump into the shower, get my face done, and my hair is already done. I take it out of the box, put it on my head. And tell me I suppose how you feel when you put the volumizer on. I suppose the difference that it makes to you, just even your confidence day to day. Would you ever leave the house without it now?
No, definitely not. I send my husband down here with it in the box to get it washed and blow dried. I come back the same day so that I won't be without it. I won't come down, I won't come out of the house. No, I need it.
That's brilliant. So the husband goes down with the hair in the box, gets done, comes back, and she has it on and she looks fabulous.
Absolutely. And I suppose it's kind of like a hair salon as well in the hair club, where they go in and they style and they let women walk out of there looking exactly like they did as they walked in the door, and that just kind of gives people that little bit of confidence at a time when they need it.
Very pragmatic sounding, Andrea, that this is a solution that is readily available. But it's about confidence as well, isn't it?
It's all about the confidence and the self-esteem.
Even the confidence to go and get it.
Yeah, and that's one of the hardest things, I think, for people is just that decision that, as it was mentioned earlier, it's just that acceptance that you probably maybe need, a little bit of a supplement or a little bit of volume maybe added to your own hair previously. But I suppose just like that lady, cancer patients aren't the only people that perhaps need a little bit of assistance or help. There's a lot of other people out there that are kind of dealing with more lifelong hair conditions and the impact that can have as well in their lives. So I met this woman to hear how her hair loss impacted on her livelihood.
I was about 13 years old, and I noticed my hair started thinning, and I used to have really thick black hair. Over time it got worse and worse, so I went to see a doctor, and he told me I had alopecia areata, and it was only going to get worse. And for years I used a medication, and then I stopped using anything altogether. And then just by chance I saw a program on TV, so I went and got a free consultation, and I tried on a few pieces, and the first time I cried. I cried, and it gave me so much self-esteem, and now I feel I can take on anything.
And had you ever thought prior to that about maybe looking into I suppose a hairpiece or wigs as they'd be known, or extensions? Had you ever considered that before?
I have considered wearing wigs, but back in the day all those wigs were so old-fashioned. If I get myself a wig, I'm going to look like 10-20 years older, and B, then I really would have to face the fact that I have alopecia. Definite confirmation that you're not like anybody else, that you have a condition. A few days before I made my decision, I went to a shopping centre, and I was just minding my own business, having my cup of coffee. There were two ladies sitting in front of me, and they were chatting away, and all of a sudden they stopped talking, and I could see from the corner of my eye one of them turn round, and then she said to her friend, "Oh, maybe she's ill." And that was the final straw, and that afternoon I made my appointment. That was it.
That was kind of the trigger moment you decided.
And that was more than 7 years ago.
And now I'm sitting across from you today looking at you, and it just looks like completely your own normal hair. I mean, what's it like
It doesn't even feel like a wig. It's just, it's now like an extension of myself. It's just a little mesh piece with clips, and attached to it is real hair. It's genuine real hair.
Yeah.
And I can do anything with it. I'm like a different person. Before the hairpiece, I would always look away. I would never look people in the face, because I felt so conscious. But now I can take on the world.
And brilliant. Well done to her. Two things strike me from that. Everybody has to be careful. That comment probably wasn't meant in a nasty way.
No.
Yet the impact it had when it landed
on that lady, was phenomenal. Like that was, as she said herself, that was the trigger moment, was just kind of overhearing that conversation and just looking at the other people's kind of how they perceived her.
Yeah, and the other part was, she can face the world without any fear now, which is great. And it comes back to that point we were making at the start, that the wigs are a lot of the time made out of real hair, and they do not look fake anymore. That you really have to go out of your way to tell which is which.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like there's just so much choice out there at the moment, Jonathan. They're not like the kind of old, I suppose, traditional wigs. Like they're extensions, or they're, as you mentioned, the first lady talking about, like a volumizer. They're real hair on a very light, sort of like a mesh piece of material, and they're clipped in, and you just clip them in, slide them into your hair and take them out, and very simple, and just wash them, treat them like you would your own normal hair. So I just wanted to find out a little bit more about, the kind of different hairstyles and extensions that are on offer. So I met Dolores McKenzie. She's also the owner of the Hair Club along with Warren, and I wanted to find out about the kind of options that people now have.
Mainly the synthetic wigs that we do have, they're mainly clients that have chemotherapy clients, or women that have thinning hair, and they just might want and short thinning hair, so they just don't want any hassle of putting on a hairpiece or a top piece. They just want to go for the a nice short fluffy style with lots of length, or a nice bob. So really and truly, it's mainly women that are going through chemo, or people that already have hair and it's just thinning and they just want a different type of style. And I had a lot of clients coming to me that wanted extensions on the top of their head, and I realised then there was a huge need for top pieces. Started to design hair pieces for the top of clients' hair, okay? So they from different styles. So take this one for instance. This is a really fine piece, and it's like a feather, and all the client has to do is put that on the top of her hair. It flows back into her own hair, and is actually,
and it feels exactly just like your own. Well, it's human
hair, and it should look like your own hair and feel like your own hair. When the client comes and chooses something, the first thing she'd say is, photographs, I can't bear. Christmas, I can't bear the photographs. Going to the weddings, sitting in a restaurant, having somebody standing over me. It's amazing the amount that what has to go through that woman's head, even before she gets dressed to go to this occasion, or to go to work and somebody standing over her. I have designed them now so easy, with 6 little clips that sits on the crown.
Yeah, because that's just a little piece of mesh, like a piece of net that's holding the whole
thing. Well, that's one of them, and as you can see, it just sits on the crown, and it's like a feather. And then again, we have the lady with the chemo patients that come in, and they don't want to walk in, and they cannot believe that it's a horrifying experience even to come in and try a wigs on for chemo. I always say, bring a photograph, let me see what you're looking for. Try and get to us before you lose your hair. If I can see that client walking out, she hasn't got to love the wig, but all she has to do is like it and say, when I look in that mirror, that's me I'm looking at. They're expecting some alien when they have this wig. So what I try to do is make it as comfortable as possible for them. And they've got a smile on their face. They come in very unhappy and leave. I love to see that smile on. And then your job is done.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's a lot of satisfaction from people who watch that experience, that transformation that goes on. They have a website, it's hairclub.ie, that you can get in contact, and thank you to everybody who told their stories there, because it's not easy, is it?
No, it's not easy, and it takes it took a lot of people, they were very brave to come forward and actually tell their story, because it was obviously, it's a reminder of what was a very difficult time for them as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely, so thank you for that, and thank you to hairclub.ie who let us in as well. Music is up next from I Draw Slow.